So what do we got going here, Craig?
I'm going to be tying a hollow fly today. I'm going to tie it on an aluminum tube. And this tube is lined with microtubing. And I like aluminum because for this particular pattern, once tied and fished, it really has a neutral buoyancy to it. Once it's wet, it just doesn't tend to sink any further than what your line, whether it be a floating line or an intermediate or a sink tip line, doesn't seem to sink any further than that line will allow.
But you could tie it on anything.
You can tie it on anything. Absolutely. Plastic, copper. You could add a cone head to it as well if you wanted. You really need to add weight.
So how many tails you tie in?
I typically just tie in 3. I know others will tie completely, all around 360 around the tube or the hook shank. I like 3. I just like to keep this pattern as sparse as I can. 3 still gives me plenty of action in the water.
And I mean, why do they call it hollow fly? I've never actually heard of
It's
this.
a tying technique. You'll see it coming up here. The bucktail is actually tied in with the tips over the front of the tube, and then we're going to bend everything back, and it just creates a lot of, not bulk, if you will, or a lot of profile without adding a lot of bulk.
That inline rotary spinner is kind of nice for this fly.
It is. You can really check out all sides of that fly, and really helps with trimming as well. So you can just rotate it. Everything spins in the same axis. You can...
So I'm curious what you're going to do here.
I'm going to finish wrapping. I want that red thread to really show through each segment of this fly. So I'm going to wrap the thread, and now I've got a...
Oh, I get it.
It's just a hollow pen that I'm going to push everything back with.
There we go.
And so I'll push everything back. You can see it's fairly sparse.
Yeah.
Now I'll wrap just a thread dam in front of this bucktail. I'm not going to wrap over the bucktail at all. Just a kind of a thread dam to keep it from flaring forward. So we're just going to repeat those steps 2 or 3 or 4 times, depending on the length of the fly that you want to tie.
And how dense you want the fly to be in terms of the amount of hair on the fly.
Right.
I see. Looking good.
This will be our last clump of deer hair that we tie in. Again, you can see how sparse it is, but that red thread shows through the whole body of that fly. I really like that. It really looks lifelike.
But if you tied this on like a copper tube, it would sink a lot faster. And if it was on a plastic tube, it would tend to float.
It would, yeah.
All right.
We're just going to put a nice chartreuse collar on this fly.
And then probably jungle cock, right?
Always. Eyes on flies just really make the fly come to life. Both us and I think the fish as well.
Now, where'd the hollow fly come from? Because, I mean, one of the things about tubes is you can put any fly on a tube, for the most part.
Yeah.
So,
But Bob Popovic's was the original tyer of this fly, as far as I know anyway. I don't know that he ties his on tubes. He ties them on hooks. But I like tying this particular pattern on tube.
Of course, the advantage on a tube is you can replace hooks if they get broken or rusty.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's primarily, well, it's a saltwater fly, but you can tie this smaller for shoot, smallmouth, largemouth.
I'll fish the same fly for largemouth.
Does it work?
It does. It does, but I don't need to use a stainless hook, so I can
Right.
I can switch up hooks if I'm tying this on a tube.
So that's one of the big advantages that tubes have over the conventional hooks. You can adjust the size of and style of hook
Right.
to fit your fishing or your conditions you're facing. Nice.
So it looks pretty fluffy in the vise right now, but we're gonna dip this in a little water, a little warm water, eventually here, and it really tends to take and then hold its shape after we do that.
You just cut what, some of the soft PVC for a hook holder?
Actually, I believe this is hybrid.
Hybrid.
So it's our hybrid tubing, and I'm gonna just put that right over the the bare tube in back of this fly, and that'll act as our hook holder.
So it's quite normal to leave a space at the back end of your tube when you tie a tube fly and put a hook holder on afterward.
Right. And that's the shape that this fly will take in the water as well. And so there's not a lot of bulk. It doesn't hold a lot of water. This fly casts real easy, has a ton of action.
Excellent.